Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Oh, hey, audit and fraud friends and family. Listen, not every envelope brings bills, and not every bank account tells the whole story. So today, we're going to talk about a scheme. Well, you just need to hold on tight because this one has so many twists and turns that you're all going to be surprised. All right, so are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com.
All right, so listen, everybody. I've got a question for everyone. Have you ever had your car stolen before? Do you know anyone that's ever had their car stolen? Have you ever stolen a car? Just a nobody's going to admit that one. At least I would hope not. Just some random questions. Have you ever had your car stolen? Do you know someone that's had their car stolen? Or worse yet, have you ever stolen a car? I'm just really curious. And before I go any further, I've got some bad news and I've got some good news. The bad news is Christine is not going to be here today. Bad news is Christine is not going to be here today. The good news is you're not just stuck with me by myself, because I know some of you are like, oh no, stuck with you. Now, there may be some other news that might be bad or good, depending on how well you like the person that's coming on with me. So, depending on how well you like the person that's coming, I can see him now. He's backstage laughing. So before I bring him up, let me just ask you guys something else. Let me just talk to you guys about something else. I see some people answering some questions. Listen, you guys know that I do the Audit Bites podcast, the only live podcast about auditing. We're making some changes to it. I do it twice a month, but we're making some substantial changes. Some of those changes are you will be able to get CPE from the podcast. The other thing is you will be able to participate live with us. Like right now, you guys are on LinkedIn, you're on YouTube, but you'll be back in a private environment with us as well. It'll still be on LinkedIn and YouTube, but in that private environment, you can come on stage with us, ask questions, refute what I'm saying, support what I'm saying. And did I mention you get CPE too? All for just listening to a live podcast. Tell all your audit friends. It's going to start, of course, next month. Internal Audit Awareness Month. What better month to start it? So without further ado, Thomas.
Yeah, sorry, it's just me, guys. I know it's very disappointing. Thanks, Rob.
I mean, I aim to underwhelm so that people will be surprised whenever I actually do something right.
And to answer your question, no, I have not had a car stolen yet. No, I don't know. I don't think I know of anybody that's had their car stolen. And I plead the fifth on the third question.
Aha. So we've got some people. I think this might be Stephanie. No, this is Carol. Oh, this is Carol. It's Carol Lyman. Carol says that she has not had a car stolen, but she knows someone who has. Phil, what's going on, Phil? That's a new picture, man. That's a nice new picture. Anyway, Phil says, happy Friday and happy weekend. Amber is here. Let's see, who else is here? Kimberly is here. Quite a few people here today. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Pull up Amber again. Let's pull up Amber for a second. So she's posing with a car there. So was that a car that she, I'm just saying, that kind of goes along with the theme today, right?
It might be a car that she stole. Okay. So listen, stolen cars, people are probably wondering, you know what? People that listen, they already know that I start off somewhere that may seem like it's way off in left field, and we always manage to bring it back home. Stolen cars will lead you to some very interesting places. not just to the criminal that stole the car. Let me tell you, when I was a kid, I grew up in a neighborhood and it was really strange. I had some friends that were in gangs and they did some very interesting things. One friend growing up, thankfully he's turned his life around and he's doing well now, married with children, has a good job, he's doing okay, but he stole a car when we were young. I remember he stole the car and he gave it to another one of our friends and he told him, he said, don't drive this car outside of our side of the city. Don't go to the other side of the city. And I was like, how about we just don't steal cars to begin with? But okay. No, the reason he told him not to go to the other side of the city is because the car was stolen from the other side of the city, right? Okay. So now the friend who had the car, we'll just call him Ken. Ken with the car then let his girlfriend borrow the car. You can see this just doesn't end well, right? So Ken with the car tells his girlfriend, don't you go to the other side of the city in the car. And of course, Ken with the car's girlfriend went to the other side of the city with the car.
Well, and it's not like the police don't talk to each other across the city either, right? I mean, it's only a matter of time.
Kind of, but the whole theory was, keep the car in our neighborhood. The cops didn't want to come to our neighborhood unless they had to,
Sure.
So Kim with the car's girlfriend goes to the other side of the city with the car and she gets caught by the cops. That's a lot of K's in that sentence, man. I didn't even play it that way. So she gets caught and we're sitting here thinking, okay, what's going to happen to her? Well, nothing happened to her. They came and got Ken. Ken was arrested, sent to juvie, spent like 3 or 4 months in or something like that, and got out. And while he was in, police found some other stuff. Now, thankfully, he was able to prove that that stuff was not his, but stolen cars can lead to a whole bunch of crazy things. I guess crime in general can lead to a whole bunch of crazy things, huh?
Well, and my wife has a strong opinion about how we keep not prosecuting, or at least not, or either not prosecuting or not prosecuting hard enough some of these smaller crimes. The petty theft, some of that. But a lot of times, those are easier to prosecute, but also you catch one and all of a sudden you find out, oh, it's a ring of drug dealers, or it could be something bigger, or you're preventing someone from doing bigger stuff because they got caught with something smaller. So today's story definitely kind of falls along those lines. Absolutely. It's interesting. One little thing can can blow it up bigger than either one of us expected.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten everybody confused and intrigued all at the same time, because they're like, wait a minute, what did a car have to do with anything? Especially when you read the opening scenario, how did we get from here to here? Like everybody's just all confused.
We were confused too.
So without beating around the bush too much further, in today's story, there was an investigation of stolen cars. And the investigation into the stolen cars actually led to police uncovering a massive identity theft scheme. So police had gotten tipped off that these individuals had stolen some vehicles and they were investigating. And what they found at these individuals' homes was at least 9 stolen vehicles over a 2-year period of time. And so the sergeant came up and ran the license plate and, well, it returned a stolen vehicle. And by the way, so let's just see if we can show you the home So let's see. So here's the home they pulled up to, and there were a bunch of vehicles out there, and they started running plates, and they found that, well, the vehicles were stolen. And so obviously, upon seeing that, they started to dig further, and there was some arrests that needed to be made. And then what happened next, Thomas? Hold on. So what happened next is they started finding
There's so much
owners.
that happened next.
I know. They started finding the owners of the vehicle. There were some that had temporary tags, some had permanent tags. Then somehow they found that there was some bill of sales that didn't look right for some of the cars. And as they were going down this rabbit hole of forged bill of sales and things like that, they got a warrant for the home to search it. And when they were doing an initial sweep of the home, they found other documents that looked like they were stolen identities and things like that. And that is what led them to the actual story for today. I guess today is really interesting because you get a 2-for-1.
You get a 2-for-1. I will say that all of this is very recent, so most of this is alleged, and not only is it alleged, but and I want to really encourage people. I know a lot of times by 30-minute mark or so, we've kind of covered the whole story. It's going to take longer than 30 minutes to hit all of this. So turn on your do not disturb stuff and really dial in here, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. But talking about the identity stuff, they actually had blank Washington driver's license templates, identification card templates, and identification cards belonging to several other individuals just in this one little quick part of the story. So yeah, they were going all in with an identity theft ring on top of 9 stolen cars. Which what are you going to do with 9 cars? Do they not know how to flip them, or is this what they were caught with? I mean,
yeah, that's the part that weirded me out. Why so many
that's the part?
stolen cars? Well, that's a part that weirded me out. And then, okay, so the police are going through the home and they're finding all of these things, and it is alleged that they stole the victim's mail in order to obtain personal documents. However, and I'm hopefully I'm not mixing this up with another story, because I think I read somewhere that allegedly they stole a master mail key, and that's how they were able to get into some mailboxes. Now, we've had this happen on other stories, so I hope I'm not confusing this with another story. But I can almost swear that in one of the pieces of documentation that I read, it said that they stole a master mail key. If you guys were here 3 weeks ago, we had a story where they were just driving around and just getting it out of people's mailboxes, sometimes even when they were at home. Which leads us to one of the first things is protect your mail. Set stuff up for electronic delivery if you can, so that you can just get it electronically. And also, the U.S. Postal Service, I think they still they have a service called Informed Delivery, where you can see every piece of mail. They'll scan in the front of the envelope, and you can see every piece of mail that's about to be delivered to your house. And so I use it, and I can see when stuff is coming. I can look at it and I'll be like, oh, so this is coming today. So
I would not trust that at all, considering we have had FBI having to sting local post offices here in the great state of Texas because of fraud going on inside the post office. So I don't know if I would trust that service much, but yeah, definitely try to minimize the amount of mail that's coming to your house, and don't let it pile up, that sort of thing. Absolutely. I don't think this is one where they had a master key. I haven't seen that anywhere, but it's possible, and that's definitely a risk, right? That's something that because my mailbox is a part of a group mailbox, so there is a master key to that, and I've never even thought about the potential of someone having a master key. So that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember. I thought I read it and I may not have. So now, so here we are. The police find out that they have all of this information. And allegedly so allegedly what they did was they activated credit cards. They also opened new lines of credit, but then they also accessed victims' online bank accounts. And it didn't go into much detail as to how they did that, but I'm assuming that they had the passwords reset and had them actually mailed to them physically in the mail.
Well, there was one spot where they transferred some money and then they tried to
not yet,
transfer
not
it
yet,
again.
not yet, not yet.
Well, okay, I won't give details there, but the fact that they were calling the bank tells me that might have been how they got the passwords, reset or something like that. That's which means training at those banks was not well done, because you should not be able to reset a password over the phone without very clear, right, identification method. So that was interesting. Sorry to jump the gun. There's so much we can jump the gun on this one.
Oh, well, just that one in particular, though, because remember the details behind it, though, why they did it. That's going to be real interesting. Let's just say for you guys listening, coming up, something happened that I have never seen before. We've been doing this podcast for what, 4 years? This is episode 177 right now. And I can honestly say that what Thomas was just alluding to, I have never in my life seen, never would have imagined it would have been possible, never would have thought that anyone would have the actual nerve to do what these people allegedly did.
I still can't figure out if they're stupid or really, really smart. I can't figure that out yet, but yeah.
So here's the funny part, though. So again, they used the documents to activate credit cards, open new accounts, and access online bank accounts. But they also redirected mail related to their fraudulent activities to a third victim's address so that they could intercept it. So imagine this now. You're a criminal committing a crime. You're diverting mail to another victim's address from one victim, and you're going to that second victim's house and picking up mail not only from them, but from another victim.
Like I said, I don't know if they're really smart or incredibly stupid. I still have not been able to come up with that determination yet, but yeah, dumbfounding me. So why don't we ask the audience here, how many different charges what kind of charges have you heard so far that the police might be having on these people? Just because that alone was very interesting with some of the, especially once you hit the number of victims and some of that, the amount of charges has been a little odd. I don't think there's anything normal about this entire article. Like, you could probably do 3 episodes on this one.
You know what? Yeah, absolutely nothing normal about this. So yeah, to Thomas's point, what charges do you think? Because we have some of the same ones, right? But there's some interesting stuff in here this time. There's some interesting ones in here this time. And we must also say that charges contained in the indictment are simply allegations. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now,
speaking of that, are you going to tell them what the plea, what they've pled on this?
Oh, wait, which one? Because one of them, I saw what one of them did, but yeah, we'll get to that. And if I miss it, then you can tell me. All right. So now they eventually redirected the mail to their address. So now imagine now you've got a victim. First, you start redirecting mail to another victim's place. Then in the end, you actually redirect the mail to your own home address. And these are stolen credit cards, stolen identities, bank account statements that aren't yours. You literally had them sent to your own address.
This is where the police go, thank you.
Right? And even before the police said, thank you, let's get to this part. So at one point, they transferred $33,000 from one of the victims' accounts successfully. Shortly after making that transfer, they tried to do another $35,000. And the bank's internal systems kind of flagged that as, wait a minute, this might be fraudulent. So the bank froze it. And after the bank froze it, what do you think? They just gave up, right? They said, oh, we aren't going to get this one. Let's move on to the next victim. That would have been the right thing to do, right?
That's what I would have done. Okay, I'm caught. Let's move on to a different one. Or you can double down.
Yeah. What most people would have done is stop. So let me ask you guys, after you had successfully gotten $33,000 and then you tried to do $35,000 and it got stopped, what would you all have done, my fraud fighting friends? Now I know some of you are going to say, I would have never transferred the first 33. Let's just take that off the table. Let's just assume that you put on your criminal hat today. And let's just say that you've already transferred the first 33. If you've already transferred the first 33 and you got 35 left now and you're trying it again and it gets blocked, what would you all do if the bank blocked the second fraudulent transaction that you tried to send out? And now Carol says she's guessing theft, mail fraud, and ID theft. Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Not bad at all. So Thomas, let me ask you, would you have stopped after the first 33,000, or would you have pressed your luck and maybe try to do a lower amount or something else?
I might have tried a lower amount, but I would have tried one time, maybe a lower amount, and then I would have moved to the next victim. Because the more time you press, you've got to know that like red flags are going off. So if you keep pressing, it's just going to make it worse, or more likely to get caught. So yeah, I would be moving on very quickly from that.
Well, here's the thing. I wonder, why did they go so big in the beginning? Like, I think this was the first transfer that they made, and it was $33,000. That seems like a lot for your first transfer.
And the fact that it's 33, it's not like 30, 35, 50, 33. Something tells me they had a bill coming up. They had a car. I was going to say they had a car they wanted to buy, but they were just stealing the cars they wanted. But they had something specific that they were trying to get that money for, is what I'm thinking. But
you know what it was? It was a Disney vacation. They wanted to take the whole family to Disney, and this was the best way to do it. $33,000. You could take about 6 or 7 people, maybe 1 or 2 people to Disney.
Let's say I've been to Disney. $33,000 can get you a really nice trip to Disney.
Could it really? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. So again, my question for you all is, if you attempted to transfer $33,000 and it went through, and then you attempted to fraudulently transfer an additional sum of money, what in the world would you do if the bank blocked it? Because what these people did was, well, I mean, okay, let's break it down. In theory, and I'm about to tell you what it is, in theory, it probably is a kind of smart play if you do it cautiously, but if you really think about it, it was really stupid. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was just stupid. Okay, so here's what they did. They, before I tell you what they did, let's talk about some of the other things that they did. They ran up credit cards. Yeah, I'm making this one stretch, right? 'Cause this one is funny. So they ran up credit card debt. They made transfers between victims' accounts and their own accounts. They literally transferred money into their own accounts. They even used one victim's account to make their monthly mortgage payment.
But like I said, the police were like, thank you. So easy to track all of this.
Yeah. How do you not get caught when it was your own mortgage payment that you made stealing money out of somebody else's account?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that. Okay.
I don't know.
Let me go and just give it up. I was hoping somebody else would give a guess or would say, here's what I would have done. But here's what they did when the $35,000 transaction was stopped by the bank. They called the bank and impersonated the victim and tried to get the bank to lift the hold or the freeze on the account.
Actually, you missed one word in there, though. They repeatedly called the bank. They didn't just call one time. Let's see if we can get away with it. Call the bank. No, it didn't work and hung up. They repeatedly called, posing as the account holder, trying to get this fraud alert removed. I mean, they were desperate to get this one account. Oh, it makes me wonder, was this account like larger than the others? Did it have a bigger balance? Repeatedly trying to do something this stupid.
Yeah, that's the part that just really had me weirded out, because we know that within this story they did a lot of things to get caught. Just stupid things that no one should be doing, right? It just seems like they wanted to get caught. But to repeatedly call the bank and harass the bank and try to get them to lift a freeze that was fraudulent, it almost sounds like they wanted to get caught. I mean, this is like the Biggest Loser kind of stuff. And I don't mean the weight loss show. I mean So Carol is like, what were they thinking? Carol, I don't think they were thinking. Like, that's the whole between having the mail redirected to another victim's house. Okay, that actually probably was a kind of smart move, because the police would have been off of the trail for a little bit thinking that other person did it. But then eventually, when they got too comfortable, they directed the mail to their own residence, having their own mortgage paid by this, and then also actually calling the bank. I wonder, did they at least block their phone number before they called the bank? What was it? You press *67 or something like that to block your own phone number?
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. You're right, something like that. But I don't know. Something tells me that was not the case for them.
So not only did they call the bank, they probably had their number on caller ID. They probably did. I'm hoping they at least use a burner phone for this one, or a burner number.
Borrowed their neighbor's phone. Yeah, something.
Oh, you know what? Borrowed one of the other victims' phone.
There you go. Now, everybody remember that this started with just a report of multiple vehicles on a property, and running the plates, they found that these were stolen vehicles. And now all of this is starting to come to light. When they started doing this, they started investigating. So yeah, it's crazy to me that's how this was all found out. If they would have not kept 9 stolen vehicles on their property, who knows how long they could have gotten away with this, which is also dumbfounding to me.
Wait, though, it gets even better. Well, there were an estimated 278 victims. 278 for an estimated total of what was it, $620,000, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Over about a 5-year period, 4.5-year period.
Yeah, from 2019 to roughly last year or this year.
This one says November of 24, so last year.
Yeah, so roughly 2019 until November of last year. I just want to know, where's the spreadsheet of all the victims? Because how can you keep up with that many identities that you've possibly stolen or account? And how were you able to keep up with that many people, but you couldn't think smart enough to not send the documentation to your own home and to not call the bank so many times and harass them?
Well, so you remember earlier in the show how I mentioned that, we feel like they should prosecute smaller crimes a little bit heavier, right? You do know what they were already charged with previously before all of this, don't you? Did you see that part?
Wait, I think I missed that. What were they already charged with?
Let me add to the story, add to the insanity of the story. So one of the alleged criminals was charged in April of 23, so about a year and a half before all of this, with theft of a motor vehicle. In June of 23, with residential burglary for allegedly breaking into a vacant home. Charged for burglary again, also in 2022. But then the other accused was charged in July of 23 with 8 felony counts of identity theft for incidents that occurred that spring. She was taking out credit cards and creating new bank accounts in victims' names after stealing their identification. So they'd already been doing this for a while and got caught, but A, they didn't learn their lesson, and B, apparently, like, the crimes that they're being prosecuted for now spanned over this time period. So whoever was doing that investigation clearly could have uncovered a whole lot more, but they stopped short. It's almost like an auditor that finds an issue, they write up the report about it, and they don't do a deeper, like, root cause analysis of, hey, what did I miss? Is there something deeper I need to dig into?
And speaking of root cause analysis, if you want to do fantastic root cause analysis, you need to check out Audit Leverage, the first AI system built by auditors for auditors that helps you get down to the root cause of your audit issues.
You're welcome for that softball pitch. I'm glad you were able to knock that one out.
Well, anytime we can have a commercial break, I'm here for it. In all seriousness, though, Audit Leverage is a powerful platform with 5 different modules and over 15 tools that leverage the power, Audit Leverage, that leverage the power of AI to help you plan smarter, think deeper, and communicate clearer with your audit clients. Go to auditleverage.net. Go to auditleverage.net. And if you're in the North Jersey area, you've got to come to the North Jersey IA Chapters Expo, which is going to be on this Monday. I happen to know the keynote speaker personally. Well, I mean, because it's me. I happen to know the opening keynote speaker personally. And I think we're going to have a good time.
I'm a little jealous of everybody going to that one. I wish I could get it from New Jersey, but I'm not. I'll just put it that I'm not, but I'm sure that's going to be a great event.
Okay, so these individuals had committed these crimes already and had already been arrested and investigated and continued to do the same things. I am just dumbfounded and amazed. Okay, now let's talk about this though, because again, it's all alleged right now, and it was Heather Marquise, age 36. She entered a plea of not guilty, and she remains detained in the federal detention center there. And what's the other girl's name? Emily Varnick, age 33, was arraigned and released to the custody of her parents last week, or the week before last. It was around first week in April. She was released to the custody of her parents as a 33-year-old.
So that was strange to me. Also, the fact that at least Heather Marquis has pled not guilty on all counts. But it's pleading not guilty with that much alleged evidence is an interesting move. But then, yeah, I've never heard of someone that's 33 being released to the custody of their parents. So that does make me wonder if there's and I don't know, I have no idea, but I wonder if there's anything there with that's a mental state, right? Maybe she's, I don't want to make any assumptions and cause any issues here, but it's definitely strange that an adult of 33 years old would be released to the custody of her parents.
Yeah, the other thing too is, hold on, let me take a look one more time before I say this. When they say released to the custody of whoever, doesn't that typically mean that there wasn't a bond?
I saw somewhere where a bond was set for both of them. One was like 500,000. One was 250. Let's see. Bond was set there due to postman. So this is such recent news. I'm not sure if either one posted bond, but it said one was still retained and one wasn't. So yeah, they must have posted bond, is what I would assume.
Yeah, but they didn't even mention how much the bond was, which is unusual. Normally they'll list, hey, this was the bond amount, and
no, they did in a different article. Bond was set for 500,000 for the alleged ringleader and 250,000 for the accomplice.
Okay. Shree says, who was the lawyer?
Right.
Yeah, who was the lawyer that got them released or her released into the custody of her parents for an alleged fraud theft that is totaling at least $620,000 as we stand right now, with hundreds of victims, 278 to be exact, is the number that they have right now. So that's pretty insane.
And if you were a lawyer, if you were a defense lawyer, they've got to have like a public defender. I mean, I can't see anyone backing them and supporting them and saying, okay, we're going to plead not guilty. I think I would walk away from the case before pleading not guilty if there's that much evidence there.
I mean, I think it depends on how much money the family is willing to put up, because a lawyer will take a case even if they still get paid, right? Whether you win, lose, or draw. If you can put the money up, they'll take the case.
That'll be interesting to follow. The trial date is tentatively set for June 16th. So that'll be interesting to see what comes of this.
Okay, wait. Were there any more surprises in this one? I'm
I think we caught most of it. This was one of those that, a lot of times whenever we have an article like this, we pull up the article, we read through it, but then you start Googling it and you basically get the exact same article, just, posted on different sites with different brands, but it's the same words. This one, there was a lot of different angles because they were first focusing on the car thefts, and then they moved it over to the identity theft side. So yeah, there's a lot of inconsistency as far as that goes. But what gets me though, so they have over 200 victims. They've stolen this amount, but there's only 14 counts that they're being charged with. So that's interesting that there's only 14. I don't know if it's still building, or if they stopped there and they said, hey, these are the 14 strongest, and they'll go after those. And then if they have any issues, they can, they have several hundred they can fall back on. But it's interesting how they did that.
Yeah, and then it really gets to the next part. If you've identified 278 people, how do you really talk to them and try and make those people whole for what has happened? If there is a way to make them whole, like, did they buy any assets? Because a lot of times it'll mention what assets they bought. It sounds like they may not have purchased, with the $620,000, they may not have purchased any hard assets. They may have been paying their mortgage and paying cars off and stuff like that. But here's a big question. Let's just say if they made, several mortgage payments, 6 or more throughout an entire year. Now, can the victims actually take their home away from them in order to try and recoup the money that they've lost?
I think that depends on the state.
Yeah.
I think that because I know, like, here in the state of Texas, we have certain laws protecting your home. So, if you have some kind of a personal, legal issue, you get sued and such, they can go after your assets. But in many cases, they can't go after your house. So I don't know if that would fall into this or not. It would depend, because this was in Washington. Am I right?
I think so. Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State.
Bremerton, Bremerton. Never been there.
No idea where that. Or it says, well, yeah. The article came out of Tacoma, but
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows where? Only people from Bremerton probably know where Bremerton is. But
oh, some of them may not even know where it is. Apparently, there's some pretty bright people there, according to this story. Just
So why don't you answer the question we had earlier? I'll put you on the spot. What all were they charged with that they're completing not guilty?
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Now I've got to. Okay, so 14 count indictment charging conspiracy, bank fraud, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and that's it. And then the first person entered pleas of not guilty on all counts. Wait, did I miss a charge?
There's no mail fraud. Why don't they have
true.
mail fraud?
That's very true. Bank fraud, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft. That's why I was asking, did I miss one? It darn sure doesn't say mail fraud. Hold on.
Why would they not do mail fraud?
Somebody's saying that Bremerton is a military town. Let's see.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's Kay.
Thank you, Kay.
We didn't even know you were here today. She's been quiet today. Oh, that's right. I think Kay is up in that area somewhere. Aren't you in Washington or Oregon? One of the two.
She's going to respond saying Washington, D.C. and just totally throw you off.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Every article that I'm glancing through here quickly, none of them say anything about mail fraud. That's very interesting that they're not being charged with mail fraud.
You know what, though? So let's see. In order for it to be mail fraud, too, I think they would bring in the what's the mail department, the Department of
well, they've already brought in the U.S. Postal Inspection Service.
Oh, never mind. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, so it is interesting. They literally stole people's mail, and mail fraud is it's a felony.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure some of these others are too. I'm sure these are felonious, but wow. Okay.
Yeah, they said if found guilty, the pair could face up to 30 years behind bars for bank fraud, up to 20 years for wire fraud, and a mandatory minimum sentence of 2 years for each count of identity theft to run consecutive with any other sentence in the case. But yet they didn't go after mail fraud. That's interesting.
And if there are 138 victims, if they got 2 years for each of those, wow. The case says she arrived late. Washington, D.C. Nope, just kidding. Washington State, the Evergreen State. I thought so. I couldn't remember if it was Washington State or Oregon. I knew it was somewhere over there. But,
yeah, they're kind of the same, aren't they? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, but yeah. So wait. So on the identity theft alone, whatever 138 times 2 is, they could face that many years. That's a couple hundred years.
Well, it depends on how many they're getting prosecuted for, though.
True. Wow.
This is, of course, another article says that the accomplice being charged with 4 counts of identity theft, accomplice to possession of a stolen vehicle, and 2 charges of unlawful possession of a firearm and possessions of instrument of fraud.
Gee. Now, mind you, these were 2 young ladies doing all of this. All right, so if you just joined us, this story was crazy because it started off with cars that were being stolen, and the police traced at least 9 vehicles back to this one residence. And while they were actually serving a warrant and searching the residence, they found evidence of potential identity theft. They dug a little further, and found, yes, indeed, that there are approximately, 278 victims,
Mm-hmm.
a total of $620,000. And these individuals were brazen because at one point they tried to, they transferred $33,000 from one victim's account successfully. After that, they tried to transfer another 35. When the 35,000 was refused by the bank, they repeatedly called up the bank, pretending to be the victim, trying to get the bank to release the money. Now that is brazen, my friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Case says, bite your tongue. Washington and Oregon are not the same.
I'm sorry, Kay. I didn't mean it. Of course, I'm one of those that swears New York City, it's all the same. I don't care if it's the Bronx or whatever. It's New York City. But okay, so I'll stop trying to get people to want to kill me.
You know what? You can't be saying that, and I'm going up to Jersey next week, man.
Sure,
it's just 30 minutes right outside.
Sure, I can, because New Jersey and New York, they don't. Never mind. But I've got to pause this for just a moment to do something a little bit more serious for a second. I have to brag on my son. So my son's a sophomore in high school, and he just texted me today. He took the test to get into one of the community colleges here to do dual credits, and he got a perfect score on the essay. The first time in his school's history that someone did that. So that is, I'm a very proud dad moment right here. So there you go. Very, very proud of my son. So, okay. Going on to stupid felons, potential felons, alleged felons, and trying to insult as many other states as I can.
Oh man, and me without my clapping sound. I've got to update my soundboard. Okay. So yeah, if you've missed some of this one, hey, there are people clapping for you on LinkedIn. I can see it coming through, the clapping emojis popping up. Yeah. So if you just joined us on this one, you have got to go back to the beginning, because this thing had more twists and turns than a roller coaster. Carol says, "Way to go," and Kay says, "So we will put you on the subway to Queens." Look, you better not get the boroughs confused, because they will quickly tell you this is not.
They will.
Yes, goodness. Ooh. Oh man. Ooh. Oh boy. Yeah. Kimberly says that is awesome. That is awesome about your son. So that is pretty cool.
Very, very proud.
I know, right? So he must take after your wife, huh?
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely not me. 100% yes. Everybody that knows me knows I am not a student. I'm a terrible, terrible student. There's a reason why I don't have an MBA. I barely got a bachelor's.
Oh man, look, MBA was the easiest. It took me 10 years to get mine. But I always say it doesn't really matter, because B's get degrees too. So
the
C's even get degrees. Oh boy. I'm glad that we're so old now. They don't even ask for your GPA anymore.
How dare
you?
you?
Please don't. Yeah.
They'd really be mad at times.
I will say to anyone listening, though, that if you are struggling in school, don't think that everybody's getting a 4.0 GPA. There's plenty of people that are very successful that are not 4.0 GPA. So just hang in there and get the piece of paper, diploma. Your degree matters. And after the first couple of years, nobody asked what your GPA was. So just stick with it.
Well, and plus the other thing too is, what did you do while you were in school? Like, for example, I had 3 jobs when I was in college. Now, granted, they weren't 3 full-time jobs, and they probably all 3 equated to maybe a little over 40 hours per week. But I had 3 jobs, and I think I graduated with something like a 3.4 or a 3.3, like realistically. But still, I had 3 freaking jobs.
Yeah.
Like, how do you expect someone to work all that time? And again, B's still get degrees. And I think it's actually smart when you strategically save some of your time. I'll give you an example. So I remember one class we had, and I think
Going off topic.
I may have said this on one other episode, but what happened? Yeah, it's just off topic just a little bit.
Yeah.
But we had a professor who wanted us to read Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
That book is like what, 1,200 pages long?
That sounds about right.
So he told us, he said, you can read this book, you can do the essay, and if you read the book and do the essay and you score an A on the essay, I'll give you an A in the class. So he said, if you don't do the essay, you'll get some points taken off. And it wasn't a whole lot of points. So I already had an A in the class. And I looked at the amount of points that he was going to take off for not reading it. And I said, screw this, I'm not reading this book.
Yeah.
And I got a B because it would have taken me so long to read the book. Now, here's the thing. As an adult, I eventually did read the book, and it actually is a very good book. Don't get me wrong, but I could have struggled to read this book and still gotten the same B if I didn't score as well on the test. It's about time management too. So B's get degrees and sometimes so do C's.
I learned that and now I was never tested for any type of learning disabilities, anything like that, growing up, but I could lead a study group in college and get the lowest grade in the group. I know it, I can get it when it comes to test. That's just a weakness of mine, and I've just accepted it and just live my life. But yes, we do. We all have our weaknesses. That's absolutely right.
Now, Kay said something else is not showing up back here in my dashboard, but she said having determination and being an honest, hard worker, you can still be successful.
Absolutely right.
100% why that right. One's not showing up. Yeah, totally agree. All right, so anything else on this twisted tale? This was enough, man.
Yeah, I am so curious. This is one of those, who was it? Elizabeth Holmes. The Elizabeth Holmes case, I think just about all of us were watching the TV, checking Twitter, keeping up with the live report. This is one of those that I kind of hope I can remember this and try to keep up with it also. I'm so curious how this court case is going to play out, especially going with the non-guilty verdict. Or not verdict, but plea.
The plea.
I'm so curious how this one plays out. So mark it on your calendar, do something, Rob, so we can follow up on. We have a follow-up episode on this one. I'm dying to know what happens with this.
Yeah, this one's insane. All right, guys, thank you for joining us on episode number 177 of the Friday Fraudster. We'll see you next week.